Sarah stood on her balcony in the morning sunlight, holding a cup of tea, but there was no brightness in her eyes. At just 26 years old, she had become a successful marketing manager, but today her heart felt incredibly heavy. Over the past few weeks, strange changes had been occurring in her life that were keeping her from sleeping peacefully. Ali, her husband, whom she had married 3 years ago out of love, had suddenly become a different person. Before, he would come home before Sarah returned from the office, wait for her to have dinner, and they would share their day together. But now everything had changed. "Sarah, I'll be late today. There's a presentation at the office," Ali had said 2 days ago, barely looking up from his phone. That was the 5th time in 2 weeks he'd used the same excuse. Sarah had tried to push away the uncomfortable feeling growing in her chest. Overthinking high BAS, she told herself, taking another sip of her tea. Ali would never do anything to hurt me. But the signs were becoming harder to ignore. His phone, which used to lie casually on the coffee table, was now always in his pocket or face down on surfaces. When it rang, he would quickly grab it and move to another room to answer. The late nights had become routine, and when she asked about his day, his answers were vague and rushed. "How's work?" she'd ask. "Fine. Busy. I'm tired, Sarah. Can we talk later?" became his standard response. The warmth that once filled their small 2-bedroom apartment had been replaced by a cold distance. Sarah noticed how Ali would shower immediately after coming home, even before greeting her properly. His clothes smelled different, a perfume she didn't recognize, sweet and floral, nothing like the masculine cologne he usually wore. 3 weeks ago, she had found a restaurant receipt in his pants pocket while doing laundry. It was from an expensive Italian place downtown, the kind of restaurant Ali always said was overpriced and pretentious. The bill was for 2 people, with wine and dessert. When she'd asked him about it, he'd stammered, "Oh, that was a business lunch with a client. You know how clients are, always wanting fancy places." But Sarah knew Ali's work. He was a software engineer at a mid-sized tech company. His clients were internal teams and project managers, not the kind of people who demanded Italian wine over lunch. Last week, she'd noticed him smiling at his phone late at night, the blue light illuminating his face as he lay in bed beside her. When she'd moved closer, he'd quickly lock the screen and put the phone away. "Who was that?" she'd asked, trying to keep her voice casual. "Just a work group chat." "Nothing important," he'd replied, turning away from her. Sarah's best friend, Aisha, had noticed the change in her during their coffee meeting yesterday. "You look exhausted, Sarah. Is everything okay at home?" Sarah had forced a smile. "Everything's fine. Just work stress." But Aisha knew her too well. "Sarah, if something's wrong with Ali, you need to talk to him. Don't suffer in silence." "I'm probably just being paranoid," Sarah had insisted, but even as she said the words, she didn't believe them. That night, Sarah had tried to initiate a conversation. "Ali, can we talk? I feel like we haven't really connected in weeks." Ali had been on his laptop, typing furiously. "Yeah, sure, just give me 10 minutes. I need to finish this email." Those 10 minutes turned into an hour, and by then Sarah had given up and gone to bed alone. Now, standing on the balcony, Sarah made a decision. She needed to know the truth. The not knowing was eating her alive, making her question her own instincts and sanity. She deserved better than this constant anxiety. Her phone buzzed. It was a message from Ali, "Working late again tonight. Don't wait up for dinner." Sarah stared at the message, her jaw tightening. It was 9 a.m. How did he already know he'd be working late? She typed back a simple okay and set her phone down. As she got ready for work, Sarah caught her reflection in the mirror. Dark circles under her eyes, a tired expression that made her look older than her years. This wasn't the happy, confident woman who had walked down the aisle 3 years ago, full of dreams and hope. She applied her makeup carefully, covering the evidence of sleepless nights. Whatever was happening, she would find out the truth. She owed herself that much. Little did Sarah know that the truth would reveal itself much sooner than she expected, and in the most devastating way possible. The next 2 weeks were torture for Sarah. She tried to act normal, but every fiber of her being was on high alert, watching, waiting, looking for more clues. She noticed that Ali had become meticulous about deleting his call history. One morning, she had briefly picked up his phone when it rang while he was in the shower. The call was from Mike Jim, but when she answered, the voice on the other end was distinctly female. "Hello?" "Ali." The woman's voice had been soft, almost intimate. Sarah's heart had stopped. "He's in the shower. Can I take a message?" There had been a long pause, then the line went dead. When Ali came out, Sarah had told him about the call. Mike from the gym called. But it was a woman's voice. Ali had barely blinked. "Oh, that's Mike's wife. She probably borrowed his phone. He mentioned they were having phone issues." The explanation was smooth, too smooth, delivered without hesitation. But Sarah's instincts screamed that it was a lie. She started paying more attention to details. Ali had started going to the gym more frequently, or so he claimed. He'd leave Saturday mornings and come back 3 hours later, showered and fresh. But his gym bag never seemed actually used. The towel was always dry, the water bottle full. Sarah's work performance began to suffer. Her boss, Mr. Rahman, had called her into his office. "Sarah, you've been one of our best performers, but I've noticed you seem distracted lately. The Johnson campaign presentation last week wasn't up to your usual standard. Is everything all right?" She'd assured him everything was fine, that she just needed to focus better. But the truth was, her marriage was consuming all her mental energy. Aisha had become more insistent. "Sarah, you need to either talk to Ali or do something. You're wasting away over this. Look at you. You've lost weight, you're not sleeping. This isn't healthy." I know, Sarah had admitted, tears finally spilling over. "But what if I'm wrong? What if I confront him and I'm just being a paranoid, insecure wife? I'll ruin everything over nothing. And what if you're right?" Aisha had countered. "Then you need to know. You deserve to know." That conversation had happened on a Tuesday afternoon. By Wednesday, Sarah had made a plan. She would come home early one day, unannounced, and see for herself. If nothing was wrong, she'd know she was being paranoid and could work on her trust issues. If something was wrong, well, she'd deal with that when it happened. Thursday morning, Ali had sent his usual text, "Late night again. Important deadline." Sarah had stared at the message for a long time before responding. Then she'd gone to her boss. "Mr. Rahman, I need to leave early today. I have an urgent personal matter." He'd looked concerned but nodded. "Of course. Take care of whatever you need to." As Sarah drove home at 2 p.m., her hands were shaking on the steering wheel. The 20-minute drive felt both too long and too short. Part of her wanted to turn around, to remain in ignorant bliss. But the stronger part of her needed the truth. Their apartment building came into view, and Sarah's heart began to race. Ali's car was in the parking lot. He was home that 2 p.m. on a Thursday. When he was supposed to be working late, Sarah parked her car and sat there for a moment, trying to steady her breathing. Maybe he came home sick, she told herself. Maybe there's a perfectly reasonable explanation. But the perfume-scented receipts, the mysterious phone calls, the constant lies about working late, they all pointed to something else. She got out of the car and walked toward the building entrance, her legs feeling like lead. The elevator ride to the 4th floor seemed to take forever. She could hear her own heartbeat in her ears, loud and insistent. As she approached their apartment door, she heard something that made her freeze. Music. Soft, romantic music playing from inside. Ali never listened to music during the day. He always complained it distracted him from work. Sarah's hand trembled as she pulled out her key. She thought about knocking, about announcing herself. But something stopped her. If she knocked, she'd give him time to hide whatever was happening. She slipped the key into the lock as quietly as possible and turned it slowly. The door opened without a sound. The music was louder now, coming from their bedroom. And underneath it, she heard something else. Voices. Laughter. A woman's laugh that definitely wasn't coming from the television. Sarah's world began to tilt. Every step toward the bedroom felt like walking through water. Her mind was screaming at her to turn back, to leave, to unknow what she was about to know, but her feet kept moving forward. Sarah stood outside the bedroom door, her hand hovering over the handle. The laughter had stopped, replaced by low voices she couldn't quite make out. Her entire body was shaking now, adrenaline coursing through her veins. "You're overreacting," a small voice in her head whispered. "There's an explanation. There has to be." But her hand was already turning the handle. The door opened. For a moment, Sarah's brain couldn't process what her eyes were seeing. The scene before her seemed surreal, like something from a movie, not her real life. Ollie was sitting on their bed, the bed they'd picked out together 2 years ago, the bed with the blue comforter she'd spent hours selecting. But he wasn't alone. A woman was beside him. She was young, maybe 23 or 24, with long dark hair cascading over her shoulders. She wore a silk blouse that was partially unbuttoned, and her lipstick was smeared. Her eyes went wide when she saw Sarah standing in the doorway. Ollie's face went from relaxed and happy to pure panic in a split second. He jumped up from the bed so quickly he nearly fell over. "Sarah." His voice was strangled, high-pitched with shock. "What are you? You're supposed to be at work." Sarah couldn't speak. Her throat had closed up completely. She just stood there, staring, her purse slipping from her shoulder and hitting the floor with a dull thud. The woman scrambled off the bed, frantically buttoning her blouse. "I should go," she mumbled, looking anywhere but at Sarah. "No." Sarah's voice came out as a whisper, but it stopped the woman in her tracks. "Don't move." Ollie stepped between them, his hands raised as if trying to calm a wild animal. "Sarah, please, it's not what it looks like." Those words. Those cliched, pathetic words that every cheater in history had uttered. Something inside Sarah snapped. Not what it looks like. Her voice was getting louder now, the shock giving way to pure rage. "My husband is in our bedroom, in the middle of the afternoon, with another woman who's half-dressed, and it's not what it looks like." "Sarah, if you just let me explain." "Explain?" Sarah's scream echoed through the apartment. "Explain? You've been lying to me for weeks. All those late nights, all those work deadlines and important meetings, you were with her?" The woman, girl, really, had tears streaming down her face. "I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I mean, he told me you two were separated, that you were getting divorced." Sarah's head snapped toward her. "Divorced? We're married. Happily married. Or at least I thought we were." She turned back to Ollie, who looked like he wanted the floor to swallow him whole. "You told her we were getting divorced?" Ollie's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. I can explain everything. Can we talk privately?" "Privately?" Sarah laughed, a harsh, bitter sound. "Oh, now you want privacy? Now you care about our marriage being private? Where was this concern when you were bringing your girlfriend into our home, into our bed?" The woman grabbed her shoes and her bag. "I need to leave. I can't. What's your name?" Sarah demanded. Zara." "How long, Zara? How long have you been sleeping with my husband?" Zara looked at Ollie, who shook his head desperately. But there was something in Zara's eyes, guilt, maybe, or her own anger at being lied to. 2 months, she whispered. "We met at a coffee shop near his office. 2 months. 8 weeks of lies." Sarah felt like she'd been punched in the stomach. "Get out," Sarah said quietly. "Sarah," Ollie began. "Not you." Sarah screamed at him. "You stay right there. Zara, get out of my house. Now." Zara didn't need to be told twice. She practically ran out of the bedroom, and seconds later, Sarah heard the front door slam. Silence fell over the bedroom. Sarah and Ollie stood facing each other across the bed that had witnessed their betrayal. The romantic music was still playing from Ollie's phone, some cheesy love song that now made Sarah's skin crawl. "Turn that off," she said coldly. Ollie fumbled for his phone and stopped the music. The silence that followed was deafening. Sarah looked at him, really looked at him, and realized she didn't recognize this man. The person standing before her was a stranger wearing her husband's face. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice breaking. "Because the man I married, the man I loved, would never do this to me." Ali's eyes filled with tears. "Sarah, please. I love you. I made a terrible mistake, but I love you." "Love?" Sarah's laugh was hollow. "You don't know the meaning of that word." Sarah walked to the bed and sat down heavily, her legs finally giving out. The adrenaline was fading, replaced by a bone-deep exhaustion that made her feel like she'd aged 10 years in the last 10 minutes. Ali took a tentative step toward her. "Sarah, let me." "Don't come near me," she said quietly, and something in her tone made him stop. "Just talk. I want to know everything. And if you lie to me even once, I swear I will walk out that door and you will never see me again." Ali sank into the armchair by the window, his head in his hands. "I don't know where to start." "Start with the truth. When did this begin? And don't say 2 months. I want to know when you first started thinking about cheating on me." He was quiet for a long moment. "About 4 months ago. I was feeling, I don't know, lost. Like my life was just this endless routine of work, home, sleep, repeat. You were always so focused on your career, so driven and successful, and I felt like I was just existing." Sarah's hands clenched into fists. "So this is my fault? Because I worked hard?" "No. No, that's not what I meant. I'm trying to explain what was in my head, not justify it." "Go on." "I met Zara at the coffee shop. She was the barista. We started talking, just friendly conversation at first. She asked about my job, my life. She seemed interested in what I had to say. And I liked that. I liked feeling interesting. I always listened to you," Sarah said, her voice thick with tears. "I always cared about your day, your thoughts, your dreams." "I know," Ali whispered. "But somewhere along the way, I convinced myself that you didn't. I built this narrative in my head where you were too busy for me, too successful to need me. It was stupid and wrong, but that's what I told myself." "When did you sleep with her?" Ali flinched. "About 6 weeks ago. It started as coffee, then lunch, then, she invited me to her apartment one afternoon. I should have said no. I wanted to say no. But I didn't." Sarah closed her eyes, trying to block out the images flooding her mind. "How many times? Does it matter? How many times?" Her scream made him jump. Maybe 10 times. I don't know exactly. 10 times. 10 separate occasions where he'd made the choice to betray her. It wasn't one drunken mistake, one moment of weakness. It was a sustained, deliberate deception. "Did you ever think about me?" Sarah asked. "When you were with her, did you ever think about what this would do to me if I found out?" "Every single time," Ali said, and now he was crying too. "I hated myself every time. I kept telling myself I would end it, that I would stop. But then she'd text me, or I'd see her, and I'd make another terrible decision. You brought her here. To our home. Why?" "Her roommate came back early from a trip. We couldn't go to her place. And I thought you'd be at work until 6. I'm so sorry, Sarah. I'm so sorry. Sorry." Sarah let the word hang in the air. "You're sorry. Do you have any idea what you've destroyed? Our marriage, our trust, our future, everything we built together, you just threw it away for what? For excitement? For an ego boost? I know I've ruined everything. I know I don't deserve forgiveness. But Sarah, please, can we try to work through this? I'll do anything. Therapy, counseling, whatever it takes. I'll never see her again. I'll quit my job if I have to. Just please don't give up on us." Sarah stood up, and Ali instinctively shrank back. But she didn't approach him. Instead, she walked to their closet and pulled out a suitcase. "What are you doing?" Ali asked, panic rising in his voice. "You need to leave. Tonight. Go stay with your brother or your parents or a hotel, I don't care. But you cannot stay here." "Sarah. I need time to think, Ali. I can't think with you here. I can't breathe with you here. Every time I look at you, I see you with her on our bed. How long? How long do you need?" Sarah threw the suitcase at his feet. "I don't know. Maybe a few days. Maybe forever. Right now, I honestly don't know if I can ever look at you the same way again." Ali picked up the suitcase with shaking hands. "I love you, Sarah. I know I have no right to say that, but it's true. I love you more than anything." "If you loved me," Sarah said, her voice breaking completely, "you never would have done this." The apartment felt cavernous after Ali left. Sarah sat on the couch, staring at the wall, unable to cry, unable to move, unable to feel anything except a vast, empty numbness. Her phone kept buzzing. First it was Ali. "I'm at my brother's. Please call me when you're ready to talk." Then Aisha, "Sarah, you haven't responded to my messages. Are you okay?" "I'm worried." Sarah couldn't bring herself to respond to either of them. She just sat there as the afternoon turned to evening, and evening turned to night. Around 9 p.m., there was a knock on the door. Sarah ignored it. The knock came again, more insistent this time. "Sarah, I know you're in there. Open the door or I'm using my spare key." "Aisha." "Of course." Sarah dragged herself to the door and opened it. Aisha took one look at her face and immediately pulled her into a hug. That's when the tears finally came, huge, gasping sobs that shook Sarah's entire body. Aisha held her friend as she cried, not asking questions, just offering silent support. When Sarah's sobs finally subsided, Aisha led her to the couch and made tea. "Tell me what happened," Aisha said gently. And Sarah told her everything. The unexpected early arrival home. The bedroom scene. The confrontation. Zara. All of it spilled out in a rush of words. "That absolute bastard," Aisha said when Sarah finished. "I'm so sorry, Sarah. You deserve so much better than this." "I don't know what to do," Sarah admitted. "Part of me wants to forgive him, to try to save our marriage. We've been together for 6 years, married for 3. That has to count for something, right?" "It counts for what it counts for," Aisha said carefully. "But Sarah, you need to think about what you can live with. Some people can recover from infidelity. Some can't. There's no wrong answer here. He wants to go to therapy. He says he'll do anything to make it work. The question isn't what he'll do. It's what you can do. Can you ever trust him again? Can you look at him without seeing this betrayal? Can you sleep in that bed again knowing what happened there?" Sarah's stomach turned at the thought. "I don't know. I honestly don't know." Over the next 3 days, Sarah went through the motions of life like a zombie. She called in sick to work. She ignored most of Ali's calls and texts, except for brief messages confirming she was physically safe. She changed the sheets on the bed, then realized she couldn't sleep there anyway and moved to the guest room. Her parents called. Somehow Ali had contacted them, probably hoping they'd convince Sarah to forgive him. Her mother was sympathetic but urged her to think about the marriage, Beta. All men make mistakes. That made Sarah angry. This wasn't a mistake. A mistake was forgetting an anniversary or being insensitive during an argument. This was a choice. 10 choices, in fact. On the 4th day, Sarah finally felt ready to talk. She texted Ali, "Come to the apartment tomorrow at 2 p.m. We need to talk." He responded immediately, "Thank you. I'll be there. I love you." Sarah didn't respond to that. When Ali arrived the next day, he looked terrible, unshaven, with dark circles under his eyes, wearing the same wrinkled shirt he'd left in. Good, Sarah thought. He should suffer too. They sat across from each other at the dining table, the same table where they'd shared countless meals and conversations over the years. "I've been thinking," Sarah began. "About us. About our marriage. About what happened." Ali leaned forward eagerly. "I've been thinking too. I've already found a therapist who specializes in couples counseling after infidelity. I've made an appointment. And I quit my job. I can find work somewhere else, somewhere I'll never run into her." Sarah held up her hand. "Stop. Just stop and listen." He fell silent. "I married you because I loved you. Because I trusted you completely. Because I thought we were building a life together, a partnership where we had each other's backs no matter what." Sarah's voice was steady now, clear and strong. "But you destroyed that. You didn't just cheat on me physically. You lied to me every single day for 2 months. You looked me in the eye and told me you were working late when you were with another woman. You let me question my own sanity when I suspected something was wrong. I know, and I'm not finished." Sarah's tone was sharp. "The worst part isn't even the cheating. It's that you told her we were getting divorced. You were rewriting our entire marriage to make yourself look better to your mistress. That tells me you weren't just making a mistake. You were actively planning a different life, one that didn't include me." "That's not true," Ali protested. "I never wanted to leave you. I was just..." "You were just what? Keeping your options open?" Ali's shoulders slumped. "I don't have an excuse. You're right about everything." Sarah took a deep breath. "I've made a decision. I'm going to stay with my parents for a while. Maybe a few weeks, maybe longer. During that time, I don't want you to contact me except for practical matters. I need space to figure out who I am without you, without this marriage." "Does that mean, are we getting divorced?" "I don't know yet," Sarah admitted. "Part of me still loves you. Part of me wants to forgive you and try again. But there's another part of me that knows I deserve better than someone who would treat me this way. I need time to figure out which part is stronger." "I'll wait," Ali said desperately. "I'll wait as long as you need." "Maybe," Sarah said, standing up. "Or maybe you'll realize that we're both better off apart. Either way, this marriage as we knew it is over. If we ever try again, it will have to be something completely new, built from the ground up. And I'm not sure I have the energy for that." She walked to the bedroom, the guest room, and picked up the suitcase she'd packed earlier. Ali stood up, looking like he wanted to help, to say something, to do anything. "Goodbye, Ali," Sarah said quietly. As she walked out the door of the apartment they'd shared, Sarah felt a strange mixture of grief and relief. Her marriage might be over, but her self-respect was intact. She had chosen herself, chosen her own worth and dignity over the comfort of a familiar lie. The future was uncertain and terrifying. But for the first time in months, Sarah could breathe freely. Whatever came next, whether it was reconciliation or divorce, healing or moving on, she would face it on her own terms. And that, she realized as she drove toward her parents' house, was its own kind of freedom.